Hey folks, okay, so mixing into the limiter and or final mix chain. Why do I do it? What purpose does it serve? I was very against this concept at first. I don't know why, to be honest. The problems that I started running into sort of changed my thinking on this. So for me, it helps me diagnose problems very early on, and number one. Number two, if things started to fall apart at the end because I was driving them too hard, like a cheat code would be the Oxford inflator, things would kind of fall apart. But you're trying to hit it, you need to hit a certain volume, and so you're using something like that to get it there. Sometimes it falls apart, and that doesn't really work either. And I think overall, I would just summarize it by saying it helped me make better decisions all the way through the process. So before, when I would start, this is a production I have pulled up here. It's just kind of a simple beat. When I would start a production, I would have nothing going on this. All these would be gone. I would just kind of have your master thing and let it run through. Now I kind of, at the beginning of every production, not even just mixes, but every production, I set up a basic chain of what I expect to be there in the end. So for me, that's a couple of VCA compressors, probably a multi-band compressor. Lately, I've been using the God particle and then the Pro L2. And I like to get it to a certain volume metric so that I kind of understand what it's going to be in the end. And then obviously something like the God particle, they have certain targets for highs, lows, mids as far as the multi-band goes. So in all this processing, it kind of simulates what like a master chain might be for a song that I might be in. So these might change if I was doing more of an acoustic song. This is a pretty simple beat. It's very electronic. Those are all pretty good things for this to have. Same with the God particle. It kind of does well with this. If it were more of like a singer-songwriter type, I may use something different. But for the purpose of this, that's kind of what my starting block typically is. Let's take a quick listen to chorus 2 here, or whatever we're at, maybe verse 2, just to get a sample of what it sounds like. I have the vocals turned off here. I'm not using them. I changed the song quite a bit, and so those are no longer really active for me, but you get a sense of the beat. It's a pretty well-balanced song. There's a couple keys. There's a couple pad-like elements. There's a good amount of lows. Obviously, we have our percussion. It presents pretty well for an exercise like this. So what I would kind of start with is, again, if you're using a VCA compressor for the master bus, you could also use the SSL bus comp, something like that. I like to just clip, 1 or 2 dB, which is what I'd be doing here. That's likely going to happen for me in the end. Multi-band compression, same thing. I am likely to kind of do something like this, maybe a 3 or 4 band multi-band to get things kind of sort of tighter, basically. And then the same with the API. These all might not be here in the end, but in some form or fashion, this is probably going to be what it's going to look like. I love the API as everything, to be honest. I just think it's really great. And same kind of thing, it's only taking like 1 or 2 dB, so nothing crazy that I can't really work with. And then the God particle lately for me has been on this part of this process as well. I really like it. It sounds great, obviously, it's the number one thing, but it's also really easy to use. It does a lot of master processing at once. So it does a little bit of width, saturation, kind of like a tape saturation. From the sound of it, I'm not really positive on that one. And then like a multi-band compression plus your final limiter here, which I don't really have active right now. And then again, at the end, I would have something like the Pro L to just kind of figure out where I'm at from a LUFS perspective, because I know that I want it to be between probably 9 and 7. That's my goal for a song like this, basically. So that's kind of what I have going on here. And as far as why I liked it, let me start with the diagnosing problems. So, for example, sometimes I would have, that is a BX. Okay, so for some of these plugin alliance things, for example, and I think Waves has some of these as well, but I didn't notice in one of my productions that this was turned up for a whole bunch of channel strip, channel console style mixing. So I had something like this on a whole bunch of tracks, and at the end, when I finally pushed the song to its limit, so to speak, I noticed this hiss, and it was coming from all of these V-gain things that these plugins have. And that was really disheartening to go back through and then have to essentially feel like you finished it, then to go all the way back through and correct all the mistakes you had made from the past, couple hours, basically. That was a bummer. I would have heard that if I had mixed it into, done the production really, and mixed it into this type of chain, because it would have been already at the level, a polished, finished production level. So that's one thing that helps me diagnose problems. The other thing is, for me specifically, because I do my own productions and stuff, if I am working with, when you're producing songs, you're really putting a whole bunch of decisions together and they stack on top of each other. Let's say that there was something that was not really great about this percussion I had here, and I didn't notice that. I didn't hear that until the volume was pushed up for the final mix and master, right? If I had waited to do that kind of thing at the end. Well, all of a sudden, if I had gone back to the beginning, if I picked this percussion out, well, I'm going to pick this one out based on this one. And then I'm going to pick this one out based on that one, and so on and so forth. So every decision you make, for me, was better impacted by having it set up from the beginning to the final, a more realistic look at the final stage. It helped me make better decisions all the way throughout the process. And as a result, things just sounded more together. Everything was tighter. Everything was fitting into place better from an EQ perspective. And I attribute that in large part to this sort of concept, kind of helping me make better decisions along the way. If something was too heavy on the sub, for example, I might hear it now versus the way I was doing it before. Or it was just too bright, I might hear it now. When I'm starting the production, I would choose a better sample from the onset rather than waiting till the end to do it. So that's the reason I do it. The metaphor that I use, which may be coming from somewhere else, I'm not positive, to be honest, so I apologize if it is, but it's kind of like a canvas. You set up the framework of the canvas first, and then you paint within it. So you know what the edges you need to hit. You know kind of, hey, the one edge for me is I need it to be -9 for the luffs. Another edge is I need it to be a certain amount of width. You know, it's just not wide enough. I need to crank that a little bit more, or saturation with some depth, whatever it is. You help set the framework for the canvas that you're about to paint into. If you're a mixing engineer and a mastering engineer specifically, you're getting tracks kind of ready to go. For me as a producer as well, I want to make better decisions earlier in the process, and mixing into the final limiters and some of the final chain processing really has helped me to do that. So that's my 2 cents on it. I found it super useful. I hope you guys do as well. And as always, thank you for listening.